South Florida. This is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Headliners. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. Big changes to Florida's gun laws are now in effect in the Sunshine State. New legislation now allows people to carry guns without a concealed weapons permit. And now the father of one of the Parkland school shooting victims is speaking out against this. CBS News Miami's Nicole Lauren has the story.
And for those who don't know Joaquin Oliver's story, he was one of the 17 shot and killed at the massacre at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School 5 years ago. Now, since that point, his father, Manny, has been fighting for gun reform and legislation. So I decided to reach out to him to get his take on this new law.
From today till that day arrives, a lot of people will die because of politicians and their inaction. They're cowards. They're receiving money from the gun industry, period. And then they create these laws trying to convince people, like if we were idiots, that we will believe that, oh, now we're going to have less crime. Now we're going to solve the problem. But let me tell you something. It's not true. Someone will die today, tomorrow, after tomorrow, and many people will die by the end of the year.
Manny went on to say that we need to do better, we need to do more, and call on people like Governor Ron DeSantis to make a change. Oliver believes the more we speak up against gun laws like this one, the activism will make a difference, but it will not be overnight. And speaking of that activism, Manny's fight against gun violence is far-reaching, so much so come Monday he'll start his bus tour across the country, visiting 25 cities over 50 days, traveling to many of the communities that firsthand dealt with tremendous loss stemming from gun violence and mass shootings.
We want to show unity and how powerful can we be, not by sending stuff or doing, phone calls or Zoom calls. We're going to do the real deal, the old school way of getting together and show the nation that there's plenty of us and we're not stopping our fight.
So again, like I mentioned, that tour is going to kick off on Monday, starting in Parkland. They'll go to Orlando, followed by Atlanta. In total, like I said, 25 cities over the span of 50 days. In Miami, Nicole Lauren, CBS News, Miami.
CBS News Miami is committed to telling the stories about mental health matters, and this week we're spotlighting a local program for pregnant and parenting women who struggle with substance abuse. Giving birth to a new baby is typically thought of as a joyous moment, but for many mothers right here in this community, it can be an extremely difficult time. CBS News Miami's Naja Sherman recently spoke with one woman who is now helping others in their journey to be drug-free.
Mother Jamie Kelly told me giving birth to her son Kyrie was the turning point. It was the moment she knew the only option was change.
I wanted to be a good mom to him. I wanted to be able to be the mother I know I can be.
She told me right after she gave birth, a social worker came to talk to her. Kelly tested positive for drugs, and her son was in withdrawal. The social worker told her about a program with Memorial Health that would provide access to the help she needed. It's called Mothers in Recovery.
I was nervous. I had never done treatment like that. It was an intensive outpatient program.
Kelly started going to group therapy 5 days a week and working on her mental health, and started meeting with a psychiatrist. Kelly met licensed mental health counselor Dr. Melina Rodriguez through the Mothers in Recovery program.
Mothers in Recovery is a program for women who are currently pregnant and struggling with mental health issues as well as substance abuse issues. And we're here to help facilitate both mom and baby to have a safe and healthy delivery.
Dr. Rodriguez says on average, they receive about 120 requests per year for their services. It's from women who are expecting and dealing with substance abuse issues or who need mental health help. She says the numbers have increased since COVID.
The numbers could be higher because there are moms who are scared, who are worried to come in, get services just because of repercussions that might occur.
Kelly realized through the process that she was not alone, and many other mothers were dealing with the same struggles. Now Kelly works as a peer support specialist for Memorial, helping other mothers live a drug-free life.
Recovery is possible. I used to think I would never live this life and be clean of drugs and free of that addiction, but it's possible.
Kelly told me she's been clean for 3 years now. She says if not for the Mothers in Recovery program, she would be in a very different place in her life.
Thinking about where I'd be now, I know I would not have my kids. I'd probably be in jail, dead.
She marks the date of her sobriety with her son's birthday. Kelly says the moment she gave birth to her son, she also gave birth to a new life. Naja Sherman, CBS News, Miami.
And keeping on the health front, CBS News Miami is illuminating Alzheimer's disease. We're taking time to explore the disease considered the long goodbye, the treatments, and the hope for families affected by it. The brain is the best protected organ in the body, but as we know, it's not immune to injury or disease. Part of its protection is called the blood-brain barrier, and very little gets in, very little gets out. But local doctors are developing a way to open that barrier in hopes of helping Alzheimer's patients. CBS News Miami's Lauren Pastrana has the story for us.
The blood-brain barrier stays open for a day.
This device may one day be an integral tool in stopping Alzheimer's in its tracks. It's called the Exablate, and it's part of a non-invasive clinical trial happening in South Florida, currently screening patients. Dr. Shay Moskowitz is the medical director of neurosciences at Broward Health.
Is by using ultrasound, low-frequency ultrasound, targeted at small areas of the brain where the amyloid is deposited, can disrupt the blood-brain barrier. By opening that blood-brain barrier temporarily, we allow things to get in and things to get out. Continue to do that repetitively, the amyloid burden can go down, and in theory, that will alter the course of the disease.
We know that it's a coming tidal wave of medical condition, which by 2050 will overwhelm existing medical services, and there's no known effective treatment, medical or surgical, to date.
And that's why this technology may be a game changer. Dr. Michael McDermott is the chief medical executive at Miami Neuroscience Institute at Baptist Health, also studying disruption of the blood-brain barrier.
Ultimately, the goal, I think, down the road would be to combine this low-intensity focused ultrasound with a drug, because we know that opening the barrier will allow drug to get into the brain. Whereas in a normal situation without that disruption, the drug won't get in.
Both doctors are hopeful this research can one day help in the treatment of other illnesses, including cancer and addiction.
Because Alzheimer's disease is so profound sociologically, economically, mentally, emotionally, it's a very big target for everything that we can do to try and impact it. So Alzheimer's disease is a logical, great place to apply this technology, but it will not be the only place that it gets applied.
Lauren Pastrana, CBS News, Miami.
When we come back, safety tips for you and your family if you're planning to hit the waters to beat the South Florida heat. Stay with us.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back, and thank you for watching Headliners. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. Fire officials in New York suspect lithium-ion batteries in e-bikes are to blame for a fire that killed 4 people at a 6-story building in Manhattan. After that fire broke out, we went to the experts to ask how those batteries could pose a danger in our everyday lives amid the rise in e-vehicles in South Florida, along with the summer heat, and what should you do to protect yourself. CBS News Miami's Anna McAllister has more.
Lithium-ion batteries are pretty safe in general.
Safe, but if you're not careful, they can pose a hazard in our homes.
If you use the wrong charger or the wrong type of charger, the batteries will fail inside and do thermal runaway, as we saw in New York City.
That fire near New York's Chinatown neighborhood happened inside an e-bike repair shop early Tuesday morning. 4 people died, 2 others were critically injured when the fire spread to the residential units that shared the building.
Our members responded quickly. They did an extraordinary job to pull victims out, but the sheer volume of fire is incredibly dangerous.
Battery-powered bikes and scooters are growing in popularity. But like electric cars and the smart technology we carry every day, there are some things you need to know to protect your tech and protect yourself. Make sure you are using the charger provided by the manufacturer. If you have to replace the battery or the charger, get it straight from the company. Charge e-bikes, scooters, or cars outside. You don't want to use the garage. Charge them away from the home and out of the sun.
Lithium-ion batteries produce a lot of heat, and they also produce a lot of toxic smoke that's harmful to the individuals and to the environment.
And that heat means more resources needed when fighting fires. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue showed us the difference between fighting a fire in a gas-powered car versus an electric car.
A standard car fire, a fire crew can put the fire out with 350 gallons of water. A lithium-ion battery e-powered car will take upwards of 10,000 gallons of water. So it's a lot more labor intensive and a lot more resources required to put these fires out.
So, what should the takeaway be for consumers? Think of your tech with lithium batteries, like a beehive.
As long as the battery or the beehive is happy, the bees are making honey, everything is good. But as soon as something irritates the beehive, the bees get upset and they start on the defensive. The same thing with a battery. As long as the charging is right, there's no damage to the battery, you're using the proper chargers, you're using it in the right conditions, the battery will last forever and it's stable. But as soon as something messes with it, wrong charging, wrong heat source, mechanical damage, the battery has a tendency to fail and could cause a catastrophic fire.
So how do you know your lithium-ion battery is failing? It swells or it's hot to the touch, it smells differently, or in the worst case, smoke is coming out of the battery. In that case, Lieutenant Mike Adams says stop charging the device, move it out of the house immediately, and call the manufacturer. For now, reporting in the newsroom, Anna McAllister, CBS News, Miami.
As the summer scorcher continues, going to a public pool is a great way to cool down. A lot of South Floridians choose to go to beaches for some relief from the relentless heat, but when going into the ocean, there are often dangers of rip currents lurking, and you might not even realize it. CBS News Miami's Gabrielle Arzola has some important tips you get caught in that situation.
When you're in the ocean, you may be thinking about all the little fish swimming around you, but one of the most dangerous things in this water is not what you can see, but what you can't. With this extreme heat, a dip in the water may sound nice, but never underestimate the power of these waves.
The rip currents account for about 80% of rescues that we have on our beaches.
Molly Engel is a lifeguard with Ocean Rescue in Fort Lauderdale Beach. She says their team is gearing up for the busy holiday weekend, but beachgoers should also be prepared. Rip currents have already killed 55 people this year, most recently former NFL quarterback Ryan Mallett in an apparent drowning in the Panhandle. And in the past 2 weeks, 11 people have died in Florida because of these currents. Molly says these potentially deadly tides come at any time, so before you step in, look up.
Each tower has this diagram on the back that describes what each flag that we fly means. Right now we're flying green flags, so that means low hazard, safe to swim.
If it's a color other than green, check with the lifeguard to see if it's safe to swim. Just so you can see how these rip currents form, take a look at this video. You can see how quickly that green dye is pushed out into the ocean. Now, it may not look like much, but the further you are from shore, the harder it is to swim back. So if this happens to you, Molly says the first thing you should do is not panic and flag a lifeguard.
Remain calm and try to swim parallel to the shoreline until you're out of the current, and then you can swim in towards shore.
Some other tips, she says, is to be close to a lifeguard. On top of that, swim when there's daylight so these rip tides are visible. But otherwise, these lifeguards say they're working overtime this holiday weekend to make sure that everyone is safe. I'm Gabrielle Arzola, CBS News, Miami.
Okay, coming up, see how the community is coming together in a big way to help one family fulfill their lifelong dream of home ownership.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back, and thank you for watching Headliners. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. What's old is new again. Hollywood is renovating the old Armory building on Dixie Highway and Johnson Street 5 years after the National Guard moved out. It'll be a community center, including an indoor sports facility. Half the money for the $4.5 million project is coming from a 2019 general obligation bond. CBS News Miami's Ted Scouten tells us the building holds a special place for longtime residents.
59 years, that's the last time I was in here. I smell it, and it brings back memories just like that.
In 1964, Lynn Cantrell was known as Linny Baby, the girl with the dancing feet.
Walking in here brought back some fun memories. It just starts flowing after that.
She and her friends love to head over to the Hollywood Armory for the sock hop on those weekends when the Florida National Guard wasn't using it.
We had dances here. They would set up a band, in fact, on this end, and we would come in through the main entrance, and it was crowded with kids.
This is where the Florida National Guard's 1st Battalion, 124th Infantry was based. Soldiers were sent around the globe from here. The Guard left in 2018, handing the building over to the city of Hollywood. It was mostly used for storage for the last 5 years. Now it's getting new life.
One of the most special pieces is this beautiful facade. It's iconic in the community. Building's been here for 70 years. It's time to really give it the love it deserves and refresh it and bring it back to life.
Meryl Romanek is one of the architects who's doing the makeover, turning this rundown historic building into an indoor sports center, part of the Parks Department.
We're going to have a batting cage that will tuck up into the ceiling and then come down, 2 of them. We'll have new basketball courts. We're going to have bleachers along the side here.
We're paying homage to the history of the building while bringing it to life as a new center for people to use.
Karen Sashi is with the City of Hollywood. She said unique features like these huge fans will remain and be updated.
One of the historic features that we're going to be keeping in this building is this old vault door that goes into the munitions vault.
The plan is to also spruce up the soccer field at neighboring Dowdy Field, as well as add community rooms. Lynn hopes kids will have as much fun here now as she did nearly 60 years ago.
I'm really happy. Kids need a place to go. When I think about what an anchor it was for all of us kids, that's exactly what kids need now.
So here's a timeline going forward. Construction is set to begin next month, then the whole thing should be completed sometime late next summer. In Hollywood, Ted Scouten, CBS News Miami.
With rising interest rates and housing costs, buying a home is becoming more and more costly for so many people. But there's one nonprofit organization that's committed to doing its part to help people go from homeless to homeowner. CBS News Miami's executive producer impacting communities, Tanya Francois, introduces you to a family whose dream has turned to reality.
My keys to my new home.
Brandis Green has been on a 3-year journey.
We have a drive out of this world, and no matter how many no's, there is a yes. So this is our yes.
Walking up the driveway, her journey to home ownership is now complete. She just got the keys, unlocking the doors and walking into her new home with her family for the very first time.
That's a legacy that I want to continue for my children. So getting this home, it wasn't about me. It was about my kids.
Watching their mom get here is not missed on Justice and Gabrielle.
I know my mom struggled and she got a lot of no's, and I'm actually kind of happy to see her with some peace.
My mom deserves the world, man, so I'm very happy for us.
Also helping is the nonprofit organization Oasis of Hope Community Development Corporation. They're a 501c3 HUD-approved agency that since 2009 have helped over 10,000 families. Martha Toomer is the director of housing programs.
The city of Pompano gave us this land so that we're able to keep the costs affordable. In this market, rates are over $400,000 for a new construction home. So these families are able to utilize down payment and closing cost assistance for those who qualify.
Because of the low cost of this home, Brandis buys it with $100,000 of equity. Toomer says that's exactly their point.
It's, money that can be transferred to her kids, and it's building generational wealth. And homeownership is one of the best ways to do that.
The program can take anywhere from about 3 to 4 months to years, all depending on your credit worthiness. As for Oasis of Hope, they have several homes all up for grabs to any families who qualify. In Pompano Beach, Tanya Francois, CBS News, Miami.
Great to see a family get a piece of the American dream. And thanks for joining us this half hour. And headliners, always keep it right here to CBS News Miami for up-to-the-minute breaking news and weather 24 hours a day. Make it a great day.